that's what meditation is really about. Am I awake? Am I aware? Or am I kind of sleepwalking through my life and unconsciously just acting out old adaptations, habits, unskillful behaviors, and things like that? Or am I free to respond to, I love that thing that Gabor Mate talks about, the response ability, that we have this ability to respond to life freely, spontaneously, wisely, compassionately, rather than that knee-jerk, unconscious, habitual reaction or reactivity that's just based out of fear, pain, old wounds, trauma, unmet needs, or just reenacting painful events in our lives, whatever it might be. But it really comes down to, am I paying attention? And how am I paying attention? And modern neuroscience now has proven that if you change the way you relate to your life, to your thoughts, to your emotions, to the situations, you can change the way that your brain functions. And it's amazing. So there's no longer that excuse, so, well, this is just the way I am. No, this isn't just the way that you are. This is just what you continue choosing to do. Or maybe unconsciously, but you can start making that unconscious stuff conscious by being aware. And it's not that it magically goes away. I don't believe in that happily ever after nonsense. I'll give it to you straight. You're still going to have your humanity, but you can more wisely navigate through it if you're aware. And we all have that capacity to be aware. It's not something special that I only have or that people who meditate for 10 years have. At any moment, we can stop, we can pause, we can bring our hand to our heart and pay attention for a moment and just see, mind is worried, tightness in the chest, ache in the shoulder, feeling sad today. And you can just literally be free to be with things as they are. And that's my approach to meditation, is I remind people that you're already free to rest with your life just the way it is. And it's really this picking and choosing and getting caught in what I call me world, right? This small-minded, self-centered thinking. We limit ourselves to these, I call them the burps of in the mind. We limit this vast, open, loving awareness to this tiny little slits in the mind. And we wonder why we're suffocating. But it's like, we love the cocoon. We love our drama. We love our pain in some sick and twisted way. That's what's familiar to us. That's maybe what kept us safe. I'm not downplaying it either. That might have been how we survived our lives up until this point. But now it's not as helpful anymore. But we are so afraid to let that go. And meditation is a way to meet those things differently, to meet our problems and our, so-called inner demons from a place of wisdom and understanding and compassion. And for me, inner demons, I like to think of the ancient Greek word daimon, which could be translated, one translation is like a spirit guide. So rather than seeing our inner demons as this thing we need to annihilate that was ruining our lives, we can see it as a wise guide pointing us to exactly that place where we need to bring that loving attention, where we need to bring that healing and that compassion. So there's just different ways that meditation offers you to see the world. And for me, the way that I teach it, it's a very sobering, no BS version. I don't believe in the hokey pokey stuff. I'm not going to tell you to carry crystals or to burn incense or to repeat all these positive, what are they called? Mantras or whatever, that like Louise Hay, things like that. But I'm going to just tell you how things are so that you can look for yourself and see if what I'm saying is true. Align yourself with what's actually happening and what life can and cannot offer, and finding out. And then based on your clear understanding, you can live more wisely. For me, it's not anything pokey like that. There's no woo stuff about it. This is life. Pay attention. I forget what teacher it was, maybe Brad Warner, but it's just like, sit down, shut up, pay attention, and see what's true. And then from that place of clarity, learn how to live. And that's what meditation is about. And that's what I teach people is meditation is teaching us how to live. How do we live our lives? And how do we go through our lives? How do we navigate through the oftentimes messy and painful and difficult and impermanent? And how do we still find joy anyway and engage fully without the resistance, without the struggle, without that extra layer or many layers of contraction? My first book before it got published, when it was self-published, was called Be Your Shitty Self.
Yeah,
so on another side note, one of my favorite quotes is from this little short story of a Zen teacher. And the line is, don't worry, things will get worse. And so what I'm trying to, the style that I teach, it has a sense of humor, right? So let's take don't worry, things will get worse. That's kind of funny, right? But it's also, there's a teaching in there, a very deep teaching, which is, yes, things are going to get hard. We have aging, we have illness, we have death. We can't hold on to anything in this life, even if we want to. We come across things that we don't want. It's going to be hard. It's going to get worse in a sense. So there's a sobering, really heavy truth in there. And then there's the practice. Don't worry, right? The practice of equanimity, of balance and ease. But basically how I like to present it is through this model that I created called the VIP model. And the VIP model, which I would be doing in this 4-week course, it stands for views, intention, and practices. So in order to have a really good practice, you need to first have views about what life is and isn't, and what's true in life and what's not true, and what's kind of just a misperception. Then you need the intentions. How am I going to meet these sobering truths? How am I going to meet myself in my practice? How am I going to meet difficulties? And then of course you do have the practices, the sitting meditation, the walking meditation, the compassion meditations, just the various ways in which we can incorporate this stuff into, one, a daily practice, and two, maybe more importantly, the rest of our lives. And I think that's where there's a big disconnect, because like you said, meditation is often portrayed as sit down and quiet your mind and feel good and disconnect from your stressful, messy
Yes.
life. And you see the picture of the really fit woman in all white on a mountaintop, and she looks beautiful, her hair's in the wind, everything looks la-di-da. But if you were to go inside that woman's head, it would not be la-di-da. That's just how it's marketed. I mean, what are we going to market meditation as? Hey, come sit with your pain, everybody. It's going to be great. We have to ease people into it. But I try to give people, a very different approach, a very mindfulness based approach to the practice, which is you sit down and you meet yourself just exactly at that place where you are. So if you sit down and you have a busy mind, it's not that you're supposed to turn off your thoughts. Good luck. It's like trying to stop your heart from beating or your stomach from digesting. Your mind's an organ. It's made to think. That's what it's going to do. Can you make it quieter? Yeah, I think. And over years of practice, I think it does quiet down, but there's no guarantee. And that's not the point. The point is how am I relating to this stuff in my head? So you can sit down and have all these thoughts. And if you have that misperception, I'm supposed to stop my mind. Well, guess what? You're going to be disappointed. You're going to say this practice isn't for me, and you're never going to do it again. But if you have a different understanding, if you have the correct view, right? So we go through this in the course. Well, then you can sit down, and if you have a busy mind, you can just say, "Oh, busy mind. This is what a busy mind looks like. Come sit with me." Right? So then it's not a problem anymore. And once you understand that meditation is about being with life exactly the way it is, and then engaging fully from that place of presence and of acceptance, well, then life becomes a little bit less burdensome. It's not as it's not as heavy. I'm not saying bad things still can't happen, and unpleasant things and difficulties, they surely will. And that's part of the correct view, that life has difficulty. You're going to experience pain and loss and sorrow and frustration, anxiety, stress, depression, maybe some addiction, even if it's just addicted to a certain way of being, your personality or whatnot. You're going to experience these things, and they're not problems to be solved. They're things that we can embrace and open to and learn to work with. And if it's unwholesome or unskillful, we learn to let it go. And if it's something that's helpful and useful, we can cultivate that and strengthen that. It's not that there's these problems, and there's, in spirituality, so often it's like, here are these negative emotions and they're primal and negative and evil and bad. And it's like, it's just an energy moving through the body that comes and goes. Not good or bad. What you do with it can be good or bad, but that's where the freedom lies. It's not in extinguishing anger forever. I don't think that's possible. But I do think it's possible to have such an intimate relationship with anger that you don't punch somebody in the face or say those, or say those mean words or act out. And again, part of the practice too, you're going to screw it up. How do you become a master of something? By repeatedly messing up. It's part of the journey. We're a human being, and I don't think that the point of practice is to transcend our humanity. I think it's to drop deeply into it and become very intimate with it, and to really get to know it and to love it anyway, and to work with it in whatever capacity that you can at that given moment. And that will change over time. That's what meditation's about. I feel like it matures you a little bit faster than if you were to just live a life, without paying attention. I mean, mindfulness is really what we're cultivating as we sit down on our meditation cushion or on the chair or couch, wherever we're practicing. And we strengthen that in the formal daily training. But then we strengthen it even more as we go through our daily lives. And we try to bring mindfulness to our moment-to-moment experience, that non-judgmental, kind of curious, open, receptive attention. And it really transforms our lives. Not like in the way that you think it's gonna. It's not like fireworks and explosions and wow, all of a sudden I'm blissed out all the time and compassionate 24/7. But you have just enough space, or just enough space to make that more wholesome decision, which plants more wholesome seeds for a more wholesome future. It's when you change the way you relate and pay attention, you change the way you are in the world, you change the results, the future results of how you're going to be. So people are always saying like, well, I want to be better, I want to be better. Well, if you're not paying attention now, where it's the only place where you can make that choice. Do I take that drink or do I just sit with my feelings? That right there is the result right there. We're looking for a result, but in the wrong place. The result is in the action in the moment. How am I relating to this moment? You want to be a better person, we'll make a better choice right now. And that's what meditation really offers us, that ability to be right there with our lives, with the situation we're in. And we're very aware of the mood we're in, the way we're being triggered, the thoughts, the emotions, what our mind wants us to do, what that craving or aversion wants us to do. But then because we practice, we're aware enough to be free enough to make a choice. And you could say that all of these hours and hours of meditation just gives us that little bit of space, just enough to choose how to respond to the present moment that's not limited by my past, ideas or wounds or traumas or habits, but to freely and spontaneously respond to our lives with wisdom and compassion. You know, it's not only limited to the choices that I can make or not make in my life. It's also about opening up to the mystery and the beauty of our lives, realizing that we're part of something, whatever you want to call it. We're part of this big, mysterious dance of life, and we are that mystery. It's not like the universe is the mystery and here we are. It's like we have this body, we have this mind, and if you just pause for a moment and think about the things that go on in this body, you know, you get a cut and it heals itself. You know, the heart's beating all by itself right now. My mind's spitting out thoughts, and like I can catch myself like falling before my mind even realizes I'm falling. Like, you know, like the body's amazing. And just being on a planet, and we breathe in the stuff that the trees put out, and like just the interconnectedness, and it's really like dropping into that mystery as well, and learning more and more about who we really are. You know, finding out who we're not, but also in the process, learning to rest more and more in who we really are, which isn't the storylines, which isn't our suffering. You know, as Jack Kornfield, Buddhist author and teacher, he always says, suffering's not the end of the story. And I guess that's the kind of hope of meditation, dare I use that word, but that there is this refuge within ourselves that's not affected by the thoughts and the moods and the conditions of our lives. You know, it's like the sky, you know, the clouds aren't affecting the sky. It doesn't matter if it's raining, if it's thunder, hurricane, tornado. The sky is open and spacious and free. And there's a part of ourselves, our true self, our true nature is open and spacious, and I would add loving and compassionate and free. So it's not like we have to attain it or cultivate it. It's just we need to come back home to it again and again and again until we can make that our true home, rather than these changing conditions that we latch on to constantly. Yeah. One of the first things I like to teach people is just the pause practice. So again, like I've been saying, is that meditation is about just being with things as they are. Okay? That you have this ability to be with your life no matter what's present. So whenever you remember, whenever you think about it, or better, if you're going through something difficult or experiencing some difficult emotion or state of mind, and you remember my voice and my teaching, you can just simply pause. And for me, I love the hand to the heart. That's just something that I have been accustomed to doing, that I find myself naturally doing, to just bring that self-compassion to myself.
I did the same thing.
Right, yeah, so it's just nice. It feels nice. Maybe one to the belly too. But so let's say you're going through your day and you're waiting online for something and you notice you're getting stressed out because it's taking longer than usual. Well, you can just pause for a moment. And even if you don't put your hand on your heart or close your eyes, you can just come into your body and just see, okay, what's really happening in this moment? And really just come into the moment without any preconceptions, without any expectations or judgments. You just drop that for a moment and you just experience. So you can hear people talking around you. You can notice any contractions in your body. You can notice what your mind is spitting out. And you can allow yourself to be aware, to relax and soften, and just let things be that way. And if you want, you can give it a little label. Ooh, agitation's arising. Or, worried mind. You know, good to see you. You know, and having that little kind of sense of humor with it and that playfulness, it makes a huge difference, especially if it's a really heavy thing like self-hatred or something like that. You can just be like, my good friend's self-hatred, you know? You don't have my best interest in mind, but thanks for your opinion. Good to see you, old friend. You know, and just come back to just what's happening and just see it clearly like that. Okay, there's agitation in the mind, there's contraction in the chest, but there's also all these sounds coming and going. There's maybe an itch, maybe an ache in the elbow or the knee. Life's happening, and right now, it's expressing itself like this. It's not a problem. It's not bad. I don't need to feel guilty about it. It's not my fault. But right now, this is my life. And I can meet it from this place of clarity and this place of ease. And I can expand my window of tolerance to include even this, whatever that might be in that moment. And even if you're feeling good, you can pause with that too. I tend to talk about the suffering because it's kind of taboo, I feel like, to suffer, even though that's a basic truth of a human life. It's not that it makes it go away, but it's almost like carrying around a heavy rock, but then putting that rock down, right? It's still a heavy rock, but you're not burdened with it anymore. You know, so that's what the pause practice kind of introduces, this ability to just let go for a moment, let go of the struggle, let go of the resistance, let go of pretending that things are some other way, let go of wishing that things were some other way, and just be with things as they are and cultivate that ability to really be able to just be with your life and yourself just the way that they are. What I like to say is that meditation offers you a profound okayness, and it offers you a place of refuge. It offers you equanimity, ease, and balance in which you can live your life from. And not only that, it's not just about how can I feel good and screw everyone else. It's what am I contributing to this world? I have a short time here on this planet. How am I living? How am I helping somebody? How am I bringing ease to the suffering in the world? Or how am I spreading joy or sharing happiness? So it's not just about sit down and de-stress. That's definitely a part of it. If you're a really stressed out person, that's going to help you, be healthier and live longer, possibly, right? No guarantee. But how are you living and how are you affecting the people around you? We're in such a self-centered society where it's all about me, me, me. And that's the biggest and easiest way to cause suffering in your life, is to just focus on yourself. So it's hard because people don't want to do this type of work because it's difficult. As simple as it is, sit down, be quiet, pay attention. But then you have to face yourself. And you have to go to a place where you don't want to go sometimes. But that's where the freedom is, within ourselves, through the pain, through the difficulty, through the challenges and obstacles. It's not that these things are in the way of our practice, but these things are our practice. And how we relate to them can greatly affect the way we experience our lives. So it's hard because you unfortunately, you can't just convince somebody. They have to be at a place where they're ready. As much as I wish I could just come up with the great headline that could just pull everyone in, people's hearts, or that deepest wisdom within themselves, has to be calling for it. Just on a side note, it's really a hard sell, because I'm not promising you this forever happiness. I'm not saying that you're going to be blissed out all the time, but what I do offer is the way it is, and then tools that can really help, especially with the hard stuff. Because a lot of these people that don't want to do it, they're not looking at the stuff that's driving their behaviors. Don't you want to know why you do what you do, and why you act in the ways you act, and the harm that you may be causing yourself and other people? For me, that's something I want to know. How am I living? Because that's what we're going to be asking at the end of our lives. How did I live? Whose lives did I affect? And how did I affect them? It's not going to be, wow, I'm so glad I got that promotion, or I have $1 million in my bank, or that I have this Mercedes, because none of that's going to matter when you have to let go of all of it. It's going to be, how well did I live? How well did I love? And how do I live my life? That's what meditation is all about. How am I living? So the training follows my VIP model: the views, the intentions, and the practices. And really the first week, we kind of get the right understanding of life, of what the practice is all about, and then the intentions of how to meet that. And every class is going to end with a meditation of some kind. But as we progress, we're going to go through the different practices. What is meditation? And I have another acronym for that, of ARK, A-R-K, which you'll learn about. But then, we go through that kind of meditation. We go through compassion and loving kindness meditations for how to deal with suffering and difficult situations or emotions. Then we go through some moving practices, and then we kind of tie it all together. So you really learn all the different aspects of meditation, the how, the why, the different forms, and you really will leave with a nice toolkit of different practices that you can use throughout your daily life.